is Johnny Wrestling, or Johnny Takeover, as my shirt says. And listen, I want you to listen. Like, we're at a ball right now. It's crazy. It's loud. It's hectic. We're in New York City. But I want you to listen to No Holds Barred Network.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first episode of the Under the Ropes show right here on the No Holds Barred Network, your source for all AEW content and more. You can follow the network on Twitter at NHB Network. You can also subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/NHBWR. Make sure you are hitting that subscribe button, getting us to our goal of 1,000 subscribers so we can finally change that great and horrible URL that me and Tiff hate to see and look at every single week. But YouTube rules, we need 1,000 subscribers before changing the URL. But guys, welcome to the very first episode of this brand new show me and Tiff are putting out on the network for you guys. It'll be a show that's just going to be interviewing independent wrestlers and wrestlers all over the world. And we have a very special guest here on episode number 1. I'm your host, as always, the self-proclaimed greatest host, Kyle Masters, and joined by, she is known as the Executive Vice President of Giggles and the Heartbreak Chick, Tiffany. What's going on, Tiff? And then our very special guest, if you're watching this on YouTube Live right now, from House of Glory, Anthony Gangone. Anthony, what's going on, man?
What's up? How's everyone doing?
Great. It looks like it's a beautiful day where you are. Very bright and, I guess, I don't know, there's a little bit of overcast. I can't really tell.
No, the skies are blue. Yeah, it's mostly blue here.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome. So, Anthony, thank you for joining us on this very first episode of the show. We're going to be going forward. If you guys do know, myself and Tiffany, we do run an AEW podcast called All Elite Podcast. We've done a couple of interviews already on there, so me and Tiff love the way those came out, so we're going to be doing more of these interviews and doing a lot more right here on the new show Under the Ropes with our very awesome special guest of Anthony Gangone. If you don't know who he is, you are going to know after today, and I guarantee you after the end of this episode, you will be a 100% fan of Anthony Gangone. So, Anthony, you ready to do this?
I'm ready.
Tiff, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
So we are interviewing the first member, or I guess one of the members on the long list, Tiffany, of the list of husbands. Yes, I'm bringing it up right away.
What's that now?
So we actually have a t-shirt on our All Elite store called the List of Husbands. So Tiffany's got a long list of male wrestlers out there that she'd love to have as her husband. Again, look at this, Anthony, putting you right in the spotlight here. You are actually one of the members on this long list. Is
there some sort of ranking on this?
Yeah, you're pretty high. I think you're pretty high. I'm pretty sure in the top 5.
Thanks a lot, Kyle.
I mean, honestly, if I'm not one, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
I'll work at it, though. I'll work at it.
Okay, sorry, Tiff. I had to. I'm sorry.
Thanks a lot, Kyle. Thanks a lot.
He better be number 1 after today, Tiff. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been a fan for years. So, like, I first found him in SWA because my friend Jimmy, that you guys all know, like, you've followed the channel before, Jimmy Refs, he's a big fan of our podcast. He's one of my best friends, and I went to one of the SWA shows. So that's how I came across Anthony Gangone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I actually got to know him from, I actually went to a House of Glory show when I came to visit Tiff back in April. It was back at the beginning of April. I forget what the name of the show is. I didn't know much about House of Glory up until then, but I saw you wrestle there, Anthony, and that was amazing. That was really, really good time. It made me a bigger fan of you, and I knew more about you through actually one of the lead commentators there, our buddy Jerry. So he actually basically pumped your tires a little bit. So
thank you, JD.
Yeah. Anyways, though, we'll get right into it. As far as the wrestling companies that you've worked for so far, the wrestling world wants to know, Anthony, where did you get your start in professional wrestling? Like, how did you become a professional wrestler?
Okay, so in 2010, I went to NYWC to train there, and at that time, the lead trainer was Pat Buck. And that was the summer of that year, and I wasn't able to kind of crunch the numbers on that. And then December 2010, House of Glory opened up, and roughly around October is when I joined that school the next year, so 2011. Okay. So I've been a student there since October 2011.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you always want to become a wrestler when you were a kid? Like growing up, is that like your ultimate dream job in the future? Like you saw yourself in the future as being a professional wrestler, or did you maybe want to be like, I don't know, an astronaut or?
Yeah. I mean, that was the only thing I really wanted to do my whole life. I mean, I was a fan since I was 4, and anytime anyone ever asked me, I always said I wanted to be a wrestler, and even if it was uncool at the time to say that I wanted to be a wrestler. But yeah, I mean, I really never kind of saw myself doing anything else.
That's cool.
That's awesome. So you were also trained by Amazing Red. What was it like learning under him, and is there anything you learned that helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize how intelligent Red is outside of the ring, and how his psychology is. A lot of people just kind of feel like he does like quote unquote video game matches or high spot matches, whatever you want to say. But me and him used to have conversations about wrestling for hours, and he's a great in-ring teacher. And I wouldn't be where I am today without his teaching. He pretty much built me from like my wrestling shoelaces to what I am now. So forever be grateful for him to be my trainer. And yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know a lot about Amazing Red either, so that's actually good to know. Like I've heard all the people like referring to him as like the video game type wrestler, but knowing his knowledge outside the ring, that's awesome to know. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of wrestlers today. They go to him for training, like Sasha Banks and a lot of wrestlers. So yeah, I mean, Charlotte came to House of Glory at one point, and a lot of female WWE superstars actually.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Private Party also from All Elite Wrestling trained under them as well, correct?
Yes. I mean, me and Quinn are Quinn, and this wrestler Chris Seaton from New York Wrecking Crew are the only ones from the first year that the school opened that are still around. So Quinn started maybe like 2 months before me, and then it's history ever since.
That's awesome. So who was your favorite wrestler, or maybe like wrestlers growing up in the business? Did you have a favorite?
Believe it or not, my favorite wrestler as a kid was the Ultimate Warrior. Which, if you watch me wrestle, you can't really put that together. But then as I grew, and in my teen years, I was a big fan of Ring of Honor at the time, and guys like Austin Aries and Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Bryan. Those kind of wrestlers were really a big influence on me growing up.
That's awesome about the Ultimate Warrior. Like I still, to this day, like randomly, like it was because it was in my home country of Canada where Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan had that awesome match. Like that was sweet. But Tiff, we'll get you into the next question here.
Wait, I got a question. So like, did you have one of those Ultimate Warrior like pillows? Remember that like back then, like now really showing my age, but like, remember the Ultimate Warrior, the pillow people that I remember on the TV that you would see them like in the bedroom and they're like each other.
Yeah, I didn't have one of those because I actually didn't discover the Warrior until 1996. So that was like, yeah. So I didn't get his initial run, but I went as a kid. I had a bunch of VHSs. If people remember what that is, and I used to like replay WrestleMania 6 and 7 over and over again. So.
It's crazy. That's actually funny you said the VHS thing. I don't remember where I was, but we were talking, me and someone were talking about VHSs, and I literally had a younger kid next to me go, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Oh no." I'm really getting old. I was waiting. I was pretty sure this day wouldn't come, but it came and it made me feel really old. But anyways, Tiff, we'll get you into the next question. Stop talking about how old we are.
Anyway, to the people who don't know you, what kind of style of wrestling do you think best suits yourself? Are you high flyer, ground and pound, maybe?
I like to consider myself a hybrid wrestler. So maybe one night I might be more of a submission-based wrestler. Maybe one night I'll take more risks. Maybe one night I'll be a brawler. I don't really like to put myself in a box. And whatever kind of suits who I'm facing that night is kind of how I wrestle.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the hybrid style like that. Definitely keeps you fresh for everybody that's gonna watch you or have watched you for a while. Besides your matches, obviously, what is your favorite match of all time that you have seen or continue to watch to this day?
Ooh.
Okay, I would say, as far as let's say WWE, it's definitely Macho Man versus Ultimate Warrior from WrestleMania 7. The fact that he beat Savage with a bunch of shoulder tackles and it worked for me, I think says a lot about the match. And, just the story they told and then the aftermath math of Miss Elizabeth and Savage coming together again. It was just a very beautifully told story, and I really appreciate those kind of matches.
That's definitely like a mark out moment. I love that. That's an iconic moment that I still to this day, like when I see it, like you get that big overwhelming pop sensation when you see them come back together. Like that was just
Does it make you cry?
A little bit. I
All right.
It strokes the eye ducts definitely get going.
So now we're gonna talk about your matches. What was your most memorable moment of all time?
It's kind of hard to say, just to put it down to one moment. If I mean, today, I'll try, but today for me, I guess it would be probably the no ropes match with Red. Is probably my greatest achievement. It's the closest I've ever been to, in my head, kind of perfect as a wrestler. Even though I probably will never be perfect. Well, I'll never be perfect, but I'm still going to try. So that was probably the best version of me that I've ever put out there for people.
That's awesome. So besides Red, out of all the talent that you've been in the ring with so far, who has been your favorite to work with? And is there someone that you would love to work with eventually? Someone out there in any business?
Yeah. So my greatest opponent is probably Mark Quinn.
Nice.
We've had so many singles matches. We've teamed together in the past. He's just, he really is just such an amazing performer, and he's been there since day one for me. So Quinn is definitely my favorite, and I kind of have the most fun with him. As far as the future goes, I'm not really a big I want this match or this match kind of thing. Like, my one dream match that I wanted, that's the person's not retired or just, under contract that are not feasible in the near future is just Austin Aries. He's the one who made me fall in love with independent wrestling. Him and Nigel and Daniel Bryan and Larry Sweeney. And that's the one person that I hope to wrestle one day.
That's awesome.
I definitely buy tickets for that if that happens.
Yeah. It almost happened last August, but it just wasn't in the cards.
Oh, that's a shame.
Hopefully, we get to see that. Okay, so you're currently holding the CZW Tag Team Championships and do not have a partner. Who would you like as your partner and be the tag team champs with?
I've given thought to this, and at this point it doesn't matter. I haven't had a partner since what, March? Yeah, March. So I'm still accepting applications. It could be anyone. I don't care what you do.
All right.
I'll probably
definitely
do
gotta get
most
my
of the
resume
work.
dusted off here.
Yeah. You can have no wrestling experience. I'll probably do most of the work anyway. Just look cute on the apron,
There you go.
and we'll still win, by the way. So
There you go, Kyle.
Guarantee. So we'll talk a little bit about House of Glory here in the House of Gangone. It seems to be your staple going in House of Glory. It's very clever, by the way. To those who don't know, how did that all come about with that name?
So the House of Gangone was something that I came up with in 2013, and there was kind of a version of it between me, Smiley, and this character Draconis.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of, didn't work out, or the company shut down, or whatever the case was. So then there was a bunch of wrestlers kind of not doing anything at House of Glory,
Okay.
and kind of were in the same wavelength as me at the time. And I was watching a lot of cult kind of stuff, Charles Manson or even like Negan from The Walking Dead. And I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of create this cult around me. And, it was a nice run for, 2 years or whatever. We did a lot of cool things, but, I enjoyed my time in the house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Tiff?
I'm always the one that gets up when he comes out clapping. Though. So, like I'm the one getting up. So he might be getting booed, but I'm the one getting up. So
Thank you.
I'm sure there's perhaps another company you would want to work for, just like all the other wrestlers out there. Is there any company out there that you have an eye on that you would like to wrestle for one day?
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm kind of like a short-term kind of goal-oriented person.
Mm-hmm.
So like right now, all I want to really do is just be as healthy as I can and have the best matches, and kind of like, the indies are gonna be wide open, especially once October comes, and I'm okay with being the king of the indies if I can make that happen. So like places like PWG or any major, a lot of places in the Midwest like AAW. And of course, I think AEW, is definitely something that I would like to do, because one of my friends are there, and I think they kind of seem to be treating the wrestlers well, which is something that doesn't really happen or hasn't happened in many, many years, whether that's financially, healthcare wise, all that stuff.
Yeah, they're definitely changing the game in that aspect, and hopefully your buddies can put a good word maybe in for Mr. Gangone in AEW. Maybe we'll get
you never know.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a Gangone versus Jericho. Who knows? You never know. Anyways, so we've seen through social media, and I actually have the picture for people on YouTube, that some fans actually have your logo tattooed on their body, believe it or not. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, I take it very seriously. So, like, to kind of influence someone or, be an inspiration to someone, to the fact that they tattoo something on their skin that's forever, means a lot to me. And, for most people, it might be like, oh, kind of like a crazy aspect of life. But, like, for me, it's like, I have to, every time I wake up in the morning, like, I have to try to be the best person I can be, to not let those people down. Because I wouldn't be able to sleep or live with myself if I was just, a terrible person, and these people have, my logo on them. So now, my logo was created kind of as a cool thing, but now it seems for certain people it means a little bit more than what the initial intent was, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud that it kind of grew into something more than just a wrestling gimmick. It just it helps people in some sort of way.
That's awesome. That's like, that may be the greatest answer I've probably heard to something like that. Usually some people just brush it off and go, hey, that's cool, whatever, it is what it is. But to actually like feel for that and and to actually draw inspiration from people who do that, and to keep going and being the best, like you said, the best that you can be. That's probably one of the most incredible things that I could probably hear from someone getting something like that tattooed. So that was actually amazing to hear. So
Well, thank you.
Jimmy, get the tattoo, okay, Jimmy? Jimmy's always tattooing himself or something. So, staying on the topic of crazy things fans do, what has been the craziest thing you've seen a fan do to get your attention? List the husbands? No.
No, that's not actually that crazy. So I'll receive what I deem to be strange messages about giving up a particular part of my clothing, or wrestling someone in a basement to no audience, giving up socks for some reason.
I saw that post. He put a tweet out yesterday about socks yesterday.
Yeah. Apparently I'm missing like a huge market of selling used socks to people.
Yeah, everyone's tweeting about that.
Which I didn't realize that, but I probably would rather be poor than do that to myself. But people have their fetishes, and it's just not for me.
What a weird world the internet is.
Yeah, very pros and cons, right?
That's definitely a con. I'll strike that in that column. So if it comes to this rare occurrence, do you have a plan B if wrestling eventually doesn't work out or something happens and wrestling's just not a thing for you anymore?
Do I have a plan B? I mean, technically, yes. But the thing is that I think that I have to be prepared for wrestling not working out. I think too many people kind of go in with this has to work out kind of thing. And when you look at the stats or whatever, it's very difficult to make something of yourself and make a living, whether that's independently or under contract with wrestling. And, in the last couple of years, because I've kind of been doing this for 7-8 years now, I've kind of accepted the fact that it's possible that I could fail, quote unquote, fail at this. And I have to be okay with that. And I've done more than I ever thought that I could do with the very little that I've done, or what I deem very little that I've done. So, but I mean, I do have a degree.
Oh, nice.
So I was able to do that. And, I think the thing that I would like to do most is just help people, whether that's in mental health or physical health, or even like foster care or something like that.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah. It's definitely good. You do have something to fall back on, and you thought that way. That's really awesome to hear.
Yeah.
So going off a little off the script here and hit you with a little like a job interview question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, and when it comes to wrestling or just life in general?
I always laughed at those questions during interviews because it was just like I never knew how to respond to it, and it was just like my real answer was probably not here kind of thing. But, in the next 5 years, I just, just have really honestly for today, it's just have the best matches I can. And if I can make a good living out of it, I'll be more than happy with that. And, just be a person that I can be proud of, and people in my circle and or fans can be proud of. That's pretty much it.
That's good. That's awesome. I like that. I always laugh at those questions too. I'm like, well, hang on, let me just. I brought my crystal ball here to the interview. I didn't think I was gonna pull it out today, but let me just kind of pull it up here. So this interview has been amazing, obviously, with all these awesome questions, the great answers. But unfortunately, that's come to an end just for the interview part. So we have our final question for you. What is a piece or maybe some pieces of advice you would give to a young, inspiring wrestler growing up in the business, or someone that's like an up and coming right now, training his way up?
I would say the best advice I could give is just, kind of a cliche answer, but just work as hard as you can and there will be a lot of obstacles that are not necessarily physical, but a lot of mental obstacles, and just to be prepared for that. And I think the most important thing I could say is just make your own way. You know, don't deem success by what other people provide for you, no matter who they are. They could be even a parent. Or a loved one or a sibling. You have to make yourself happy, and that doesn't mean that you have to step on other people to do that. But you know, help yourself and also help others if you can. And I guess just make your own way.
That's awesome. Sometimes the simplest answer is the best answer, right? And I'm sure anyone could take that advice and literally, if they put their heart and soul to it, they can become who they want to be. Like it takes a lot of work. Yeah, like you said, there's obstacles that are going to be in your way. You have to kind of be mentally prepared for that, and you never know. One day, that phone could ring and you can get the call. So,
right.
I know that's it for our interview questions. Tiff, I don't know if there was any fan questions that we got.
No, because you threw me under the bus with the list of husbands, because I was like,
oh, is that the fan question?
That was the fan question. I'm like, throw me under the bus. But I don't know if anybody in the chat has anything. Does Anthony have any plans to venture to the UK at some point?
I mean, I have my passport. You know, I paid to renew it. So anytime anyone over, I mean, I've been trying, and we'll see what happens. But hopefully soon.
Yeah, I could see it, man. Over there in what's it? I see it's Progress. That's over there. Progress Wrestling.
Progress.
I know there's one called Hustle.
Yep.
There was another one I knew off the top of my head. I can't really think of it. But that'd be cool. That'd be awesome. We do have 3 promo posters while we wait for any more fan questions. There's one I kind of want to know a little bit about. We have the promo poster. It's called Around the Squared Circle. It's on Thursday, July 18th in New York. It says no ring, no rules in a effing art gallery. Can we get a little bit more context maybe on what this is?
Yeah, so there's a photographer, I should say, that comes to a lot of shows, and he takes a lot of pictures. And I think his @ is Get the Image.
Yes,
his name is Tina. Yeah. So he's throwing an art show, and you know, he's friends with a lot of people that kind of do this subgenre or whatever called, you know, no ring matches or no ring death matches or whatever you want to call it. And he asked me to do it, and at first I was kind of like, I'm not really sure, kind of a thing. But then, you know, I saw people like Zack Sabre Jr. and wrestlers like that do one in Brooklyn actually before. So like for me as a creative person, I kind of want to challenge myself to see if I can make this work for myself, even if it's just one time. I just want to try it and see how it is. And creatively, I think, you know, it's definitely a challenge for me. And if I can make it work for me and my opponent or the fans there, it'd definitely be something interesting to be a part of.
That's awesome.
But yeah, there's no ring. So
I need to come to this. So whether I'm coming alone or one of my friends is going to come with me, I need to come to this because I definitely want to see this.
Yeah, please do.
So we have another poster here. You're going to be at MCW's Shamrock Memorial Cup. The tournament. You're a tournament participant. This is a really cool looking poster. I love the whole 4-leaf clover background. Do you have an opponent lined up maybe for this yet?
Yeah, it's kind of. I'm actually in a tag match for this, and whoever wins kind of moves on, kind of thing. And like one of the opponents is actually Crowbar from WCW. I don't know. If you guys
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm very excited and honored to be a part of this. I was at MCW in Maryland one time before where I faced Joe Gacy, and we had kind of a cool little match. And like the Shamrock tournament is one of the premier tournaments in indie wrestling, especially on the East Coast. And I'm very honored to be a part of it. And like guys like Ciampa and Leo Rush and even I'm not sure if Velveteen Dream was in the tournament, but MCW is where he came from.
Oh, so, that's awesome. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we do have a fan question before we get to the next poster here. It's have you ever thought about maybe having a match with Jon Moxley eventually?
I mean, for these kind of questions, it's kind of like, hey, would you like to face this person?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool. I mean, I was a fan of Moxley prior to becoming a wrestler, so like 2009 or whatever, when he was in Dragon Gate USA and Evolve. And like, I was always a fan, and you know, when he was in the WWE, it wasn't the same for me. But now, you know, I didn't realize he still had it, you know, for lack of a better term, had it in him, or had the Moxley character in him. But, you know, I'm really enjoying his stuff, and, you know, I mean, I wouldn't mind wrestling him. Yeah.
That'd be sweet. I want to see no holds barred type of match too. Like,
you never know. You never know what could happen at CZW where he started.
And I'm talking about as far as we got with him and Janela at at Fyter Fest. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Just even him spitting out the thumbtack. I'm like, oh my god, like this is crazy. He's, anyways, there's one more poster here. The Lyle C. Williams Memorial Show you're going to be at Friday, July 12th at the Colossal Sports Academy at the Coliseum in New Jersey. Voorhees, New Jersey, for CCW. Doors are open at 7 o'clock, bells at 8 o'clock. Do you have maybe a point line up for that, or is it a surprise?
I mean, when it comes to me and CCW, you'll never know what exactly I'm going to do. Yeah, I like to be very unpredictable when it comes to that. I mean, I don't even have a tag partner, so. But this show's very important. Lyle was a photographer for many years at CZW in many places, and unfortunately he passed away recently. And this show is kind of a show that you kind of put everything aside, the politics and all that. And you just throw a show to benefit his family and kind of pay for costs for funeral and all that. And there's a bunch of promotions like that are local, like Synergy and On Point and other promotions that are also working with CZW that day.
Right.
And it's just a cross, you know, I guess you would say cross-promotional kind of show, just to show support to Lyle and his family for everything that he has done for everyone in wrestling.
That's awesome. I kind of have a question. What character do you like playing better, the heel or the babyface? Do you have a preference?
I really don't care.
No?
It doesn't matter. No.
You can rock both?
I mean, there's yes. I like to think that I'm someone that can do that. And, you know, when I'm a quote unquote heel, I'm basically every person that's ever been, you know, less than great to me in my life is in that character.
That's awesome.
Everything that I've hated or disliked about what someone has done to me, I've kind of put that in that character. So that character is a liar. He's a manipulator. He's all that. When I do babyface or I'm the good guy, I just, you know, I go out there and just be maybe more to who I am as a real person, as a human being. And I also shake the ropes like the Warrior to get myself pumped up.
Yeah.
So,
Sweet.
Yeah.
You forgot the House of Glory one, Kyle. He's going to be at House of Glory on August 9th.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to drop it in there.
I will be there. I'll bring Skittles, but
please do. Please do. But I have to eat them after the match so I don't get
that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll wait till after the match if I can find you. But
Yes, that's high intensity 9, correct?
yeah,
Yeah.
8 or 9, 8. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what was I gonna say? Well, yeah. So Anthony always likes to write questions on his Instagram feed, so I'm always bothering him. So that's why they like Skittles, because I asked one day, I was like, what was one of his favorite candy? So he told me Skittles. So I said I was gonna bring him some Skittles. So
That's awesome. Other than that, Tiff, I don't know if you have any yourself questions that you thought of maybe.
There was in the chat, right? If you have to have one so-called indie promotion that you would love to wrestle in, where would you wrestle?
I guess it would probably be like Progress.
Nice.
In the UK, in the United States, it'd probably be PWG. But just so I can kind of prove to me and everyone that's supported me that I can be at the level of all those amazing wrestlers. And yeah, I guess that those two places would be the places that I would like to test my skills at.
I don't know how you feel about them, but I'd love to see you in MLW. I hear they're getting.
Oh yeah,
they're doing
definitely.
a lot of good things right now.
Definitely, and I could have my match with Austin Aries there.
There you go. There we go.
Take my money. Take it. So guys, anyway, this is why we always talk about you have to check out indie wrestling. I know me and Kyle are on the All Elite train right now, but me and Kyle are probably more me. I'm probably more big into the indie scenes, but you never know. You never know.
Not a lot come up to where I am, so it's tough for me. When one does come around, I do go.
That's why Kyle's got to come back down to New York to visit me so that we can go to all these shows or whatever. But there's like a million like in New York and Jersey and stuff. So I gotta find my way to Jersey one of these days. But yeah, definitely check out the indie scenes, guys.
Other than that, I think it's gonna wrap it up for today's episode, guys. So thank you, Anthony, for joining us on our very first episode here of Under the Ropes.
I actually had one question before I leave.
Okay.
I thought I asked you guys a question.
Ooh.
Oh, the tables have turned. Oh,
I'm scared.
Okay, so am I number one now? Am I number one?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sorry,
I
Marty.
thought that I would be able to, but I just wanted to make sure.
Sorry, Marty.
We're gonna have to go.
Sorry, Steph. Sorry.
We're gonna have to go edit that shirt and crop in his name on the top of the list there.
Absolutely. You guys heard it here first.
Anthony is now number one on the list of husbands and future promoted on our All Elite show as well. Other than that, guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you go follow give Anthony a follow on Twitter at Anthony Gangone. It's not really hard to find on Twitter. It's his name. At his name. It's pretty easy. Hey, get him a follow. Make sure you're following him on Twitter and following his journey through the future now with him in the independent circuit. I can't wait to see where he goes from here. And we're definitely going to be following you along your journey, Anthony. So thank you very much for joining us on our first episode here. Really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Under the Ropes. Future shows will be posted right here on the No Holds Barred Network. Make sure you are following at NHB Network. Make sure you are subscribed on youtube.com/NHBWR. You're going to get this content. You're going to get the AEW podcast. You're also going to get future content that me and Tiff are talking about. Keep loading into this network, so make sure you are following us on both. You can follow myself at Real Kyle Masters. You can follow Tiffany at Loves to Dream 82. She's the executive vice president of Giggles and the Heartbreak Chick. And I'm your self-proclaimed greatest host. And that is going to wrap it up for episode 1, guys. We will see you next time for the next episode. Take it easy.